All right. Good to have you. It's been a while. Just like you were saying, it's been since Lambda class. So what was that? Back in, 2022, ended in July. All right. Well, let's get this going so you can get your Sunday going. Had a couple questions ready, and then we'll kind of just let the conversation go on from there. First question that we had for you is just to have you introduce yourself. What do you do, and how long have you been investing?
Yeah, so my name is Christian Kittoriano. I'm 23 years old. I'm currently a master's student at Dominican University, California. I'm studying occupational therapy, and thankfully, I got one more semester until I graduate. So now I'm just doing field work, which is equivalent to clinicals for nurses or residency for doctors. So it's basically like a 9 to 5 unpaid work. And yeah, I've been investing for about 2 years now, but it's been on and off because I had to focus on school. And now that all the like book work and tests is all over with, and I'm in the field, I've been able to practice doing trading full time.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I noticed you've been posting a couple things on the profits and all that. We'll get to that in a little bit. What prompted you to start your learning with Investor Central Academy? And like we said, you were part of Lambda class, which was in the middle of last year.
Hmm.
But what got you involved?
Yeah, so I mean, Chemo has always been a good friend of mine. We'd always hang out every week at one point. At that time, I just had like a basic understanding of how the market was. It was the sort of that thought of like, buy low and sell high type information that I had. And thus, a lot of conversations we had was based off of like knowing and learning about the market, investing and all of that. So it really interested me to take a deeper dive into the fundamentals of technical analysis of how the stock market worked. I figured that taking ICA was a great opportunity for me to be able to do so without having to take, a college course, which had been much more expensive. And so I was in the Lambda class of 2022.
Awesome. Can you explain the key principles of investing that you've learned through ICA or any tips that you'd like to share so that, our watchers and our viewers can get an idea of not only what they can learn, but important things that they might want to keep in their minds?
Yeah, for sure. No, so ICA bases a lot of their coursework towards like the fundamentals, technical analysis, and all the tools needed in order to place a successful trade. But all of that was important for me, and I learned a lot. And what stood out to me the most was the psychology of investing. So many people overlook this aspect, but it's as important as, let's say, charting a ticker for the morning. In my opinion, being able to manage your emotions can make you a successful trader. And for example, when you're chasing or like making stupid decisions based off of your emotions to get rich quick, or being greedy and not setting a stop loss in hopes to like make a reversal, this will bankrupt you in less than a month. So I think that's an important aspect that I took into ICA.
Yeah, very good. I know a lot of other courses will focus on just the market fundamentals, but not understanding your own psychology, your own emotions can definitely put you, have you go down the wrong path. Do you have any specific examples of that greed or fear that you've experienced that now you're able to put behind you and to move on from?
Yeah. So, for example, I started off with like a really small account. I think, let's say, 1,000. So it's very limited. I'm probably able to only purchase like one or two contracts, two at the max, maybe three. But like, if I place three contracts, that's my whole $1,000 account. So maybe starting off with one or two contracts, and if it's down maybe 20%, I have to know, like, make a stop loss because at the end of the day, there's always tomorrow to capitalize on the gains. And I think that's what a lot of the beginner traders have to deal with such a small account. It's like when you're chasing or you're trying to make those big gains that, let's say, someone with more capital has in their account, it's not going to end well because you see those people with let's say $10,000 in the account and they're consistently making like $1,000 or $2,000, but they're putting in at least $5,000 worth of options compared to myself, which is only putting one or two contracts. And so just knowing when to take your profits and when to know to take the L.
Yeah, very, very good. I actually did notice you did share your, $1,000 account and how it's doubled. Any updates onto where it is, and also any insights for our viewers so that they can understand, what it is that you were looking at and how you got to that point.
Yeah, so for me personally, because I've just been uh trading for I think 3 months straight now. Um it has doubled and tripled and gone up in value a lot, but I still try to maintain not being greedy. So I make sure to deposit my gains every week. I'm sorry, I mean withdraw. Just making sure that my capital isn't low anymore or isn't too high so I don't over enter and make a stupid trade. So it's just having that discipline to be able to know how much you're willing to put into the market and how much you're willing to lose. So I've been able to at least make two times of my initial capital every week and making sure that, you know, I don't lose it all. So I put it back into my bank and kind of just forget about it. So I've just been a little bit more disciplined with not making those huge risky plays, and just being a little bit more conservative, which I think is important for all these beginners. Because once you see all these people on, let's say, TikTok, they're making $5,000, and let's say you made $500 on one day, the next day you're going to try to reach 1,000. And if it doesn't go your way, then you just lost your initial $500.
Yeah, a big part of that, what I hear as somebody that helped teach as well is the psychology. It seems that you've started to understand and start to put in play the understanding that a lot, there's always going to be people out there, bigger fish out there that are
Hmm.
showing bigger profits, bigger, margins, etc. But, it's very easy to get caught up with somebody else who's, making two, three, four times what you're putting in. And ultimately, it's something where you have to understand it's not always just about the dollar value of what you're getting back, but more so the percentages, right?
Hmm.
Understanding, one thing that you talked about earlier was making sure that you set your stop losses. And I do, I hope you remember, I'm sure you remember the slide that I had in class showing that, if you're losing 50% of your initial capital, you need 100% to bring it back up to speed or bring it back to your even. And it seems like you've put those into play. I mean, it's very, as one of your teachers, I'm very proud to see how you've started to implement these ideas and these things that we've taught. And it's always been fun to, keep track of what you're doing too, the profits that you've been sharing.
Hmm.
Um,
And yeah, so I have learned the hard way because in the past I have bankrupted my account and it does take that experience to know like how it feels like to be on the lows and like remembering not to get to that point again of being disciplined.
oh,
So it's not linear, the process and understanding how the market works. It's just not like a straightforward process. There's going to be ups and downs, but as long as you stick to your plan and you're not greedy, then things should be okay.
yeah, I think it's, one of the things that's definitely tough as being one of the teachers is understanding that sometimes some people do have to learn on their own, as much as I can tell you, being,
Mhm.
setting your stop losses, being careful with those drawdowns, at the end of the day, when you do experience those situations, you're very much more likely to understand, and be more cautious with things. A lot of times I feel that, we see people bringing in the 100, 200% returns, and all of a sudden we're looking for those instead of protecting our accounts, protecting our premium and things like that. And one thing that I do want to also bring up is that unlike just the regular retail trader, the ICC Discord and the STAX software that we've put together are some very beneficial and very useful tools to help people grow their account and for them to help their analysis. Could you help describe the experience that you've had with Stacks and a couple of insights as to what you look for in your trading approach and how has that worked out for you so far?
Yeah, so how long has it been, like maybe 2 months since Stacked was launched?
Yep, Stacks has only been around for, I'd say, about 50 days or so. We
Yeah,
launched on December 1st for the public to use.
you guys have been working on it for like the past 3 years, and all the work that you guys have been doing really reflected on how accurate and how profitable using Stacks is. And for me personally, it's been really useful as someone who has to do field work from 9 to 5. I can't be monitoring the market every minute or every hour. And so it's a great platform for me to see like what's moving around in the market, who's placing orders, who's shorting a stock, and potentially just allowing me to see which direction that the stock is going in. And so for me, what my strategy is that I like to tend to follow around these big institutions or the big monies. So these are the people that are investing in over $1 million worth of capital, particular option contract to either buy it or sell it. To me, it's been very accurate. I think 90% of the time it's worked out for me because there's something that institutions know that we don't. If they're pulling in like over $1 million worth of money into a particular stock, which is a lot for someone, they know that something is going on and that it's probably going to go in their way. And for me, kind of how I see it, I kind of see it as like a chess game. I don't know. That's what works for me in my head.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
like the
explain,
big
explain. I'd like to hear that.
yeah, so like the big money plays are kind of like the queen piece, right? They can move in any direction of the board. And if you're a wise chess player, you can move it into a direction that can be advantageous for you to, like, let's say, be able to capture an enemy piece, right? So wherever the queen moves, all eyes are on the queen, like, okay, I mean, this player moved it this way. That means I have to watch my back, right? Once you see that big money play move forward, and you see a bunch of other smaller players under $1 million moving forward too. All eyes are on what's going to happen next. Are we going to be able to capture the king and see the stock price go up, or are we just setting up for another play? Let's say in a couple months for it to boom. So that's kind of how I see it. I think for me, it works best in like analogies, kind of just basing off of like things that you enjoy and implementing it into the stock market. Kind of like how in ICA you talked about basketball with it. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I see
Um,
the Jordan and the Kobe behind you. I like that poster back there. That's
yep.
awesome. Yep.
R.I.P. Kobe.
What analogies with basketball stuck out with you that you really enjoyed or helps you understand things better, would you say?
I remember one of them was the Steph Curry shooting percentage. Do you remember that? Percentage wise, it's just like all about percentages. Like you're just trying to keep a consistency of it, not letting it, drop down.
I think the one you might be referring to is are the moving averages with the scoring
Uh,
average, whether the moving averages are bringing the consistent average up or bringing it down, the golden cross and the death cross. I also noticed, I think just this last week or so, you had almost a 200% return on SPY, was it?
it
Could you
was
go over a little bit
AMD.
on what you know? Oh yeah, AMD. Can you go
Yeah.
over a little bit of what prompted you to get into it? What were some signals that you noticed either with Stacks or with the Discord or even with your own charting that gave
Mhm.
you the confidence and gave you the ability to say, hey, I want to stick into this and write it out for that type of return?
Yeah, so I think the first part of it is just having that knowledge of the stock market because before AMD popped off, Nvidia was like booming. A lot of people profited off of that. And what I did notice, monitoring the markets the past 2 years, is that usually when Nvidia goes up, uh, its little brother AMD usually goes up. I think it was on a Tuesday morning. I was on Stacks. There was four AMD calls in a row. And usually I like to see those. Let's say there's four Apple stocks placed in a row. And so that's what's been helping me. That's one indicator that shows that the price will go up without having used the big money if I do see that. And then for the most part, that really helped me. Also, looking at the candlesticks, I didn't see a bearish candle on the 5 minute chart at all. So I just rode it until until around 12 and then I sold. And I think it was like 280%. So that was my highest percentage gain that I've ever earned.
That's pretty awesome. Nice. Was that trade solely based upon what Stacks was telling you? Did you use the Discord at all? Was there any other information that you took in, or was it really just Stacks was shouting something out and you noticed those things and that's why you got yourself in?
Yeah, no, it was solely off of Stacks. Like I was saying, like Stacks is so accurate and like it's one of the most helpful tool. Like even for someone that doesn't know how to chart efficiently and you hop on a big money call, you're gonna profit. And just knowing the news around you, what's going on, if it's earnings season, just having that awareness ties everything into a successful trade. But most of the time I've just been using Stacks.
Nice. I also noticed another one was it that you took was a spy that
Oh
you got.
yeah. Yeah, let me see.
Let me see. Back in December, you had a Baba made almost a G off of that one. And then
Yeah.
I'm just rolling through what you've been posting and you got a Tesla return. That one was a bit smaller, but still 20% off of that. SPY earlier in the month,
Yeah.
60% return. Yeah, you've been doing pretty well for yourself. It looks like you've really been putting in the lessons that we've taught you and paying off for you. I'm sure you've not only made back the amount that you paid for class, but also started to benefit from the learning that you've been doing.
Yep.
Um,
And I think, well, for me personally, I mean, when I post these like profits and then my friends ask me like they're thinking about joining stacks, things like that, I usually tell them to just have like at least a basic understanding of the market, like taking ICA. I know a couple of my friends have taken ICA, so they have a good understanding of what's going on. But I feel like in order to get your feet really wet into the market and utilizing stacks, just taking that ICA, getting your fundamentals right. In order to walk, you gotta crawl. In order to run, you gotta walk. Just having those tools because I stacks is very helpful if you know what you're doing. And so for all those new people, maybe taking ICA would be really helpful. That and then doing stacks. So, it's just a great opportunity to be able to know what's going on because not everything on the news is going to be accurate, for example.
yeah, we've definitely learned that a lot of what you hear on the news is really just noise at the end of the day. It
Hmm.
might push things around a little bit, but a lot of times institutions are outputting information to try to take advantage of the little ones, the little people. Pretty good. I mean, first out as one of your teachers, and again, I want to say I'm very proud of you implementing all the
Thank you.
things that you've learned and putting things into play. I know we also want to make sure that people understand too. You've also got a Instagram page where you're trying to share things as well. Give me a little background on that. What is it that prompted you to get started with that to share what you've learned?
Yeah, and so a lot of it was just hanging out with Chemo, seeing how he built up Investor Central Club to where it is now, and it's going to get even better in the future. He's always wanted me to push for better, strive for better, do more. And so I decided to start my own Instagram page. I think for now it's just, posting profits, just showcasing the things that I'm able to learn through Investor Central. And so I think one day I'd want to do what you guys are doing, but in the future. I think for me, it's kind of also basing it as it's kind of just like a little umbrella for Investor Central to get like-minded individuals my age to be able to join Investor Central and be able to just profit off of the market, kind of like how I did, because it is the money you make is pretty life-changing. You're able to have extra pocket money for the weekend, buy nicer things, and just be able to make, let's say, your 9 to 5 in 2 hours. That's just been really helpful for me, just having that thought.
That's awesome. I'm sure you've heard some things through the grapevine, but we are still working on adding additional features to Stacks. One of the things we're trying to implement as well is being able to get buy or sell signals along with those calls and puts. So being able to understand if people are taking hedges or if they're actually purchasing those options, just additional information that helps people and helps our users understand what's going on with the market. And another thing as well is we're also working on expanding our education side of our ICA, Investor Central Academy. We already have our pre-recorded series now after going through about 26 classes since, alpha all the way through omega. We're excited to continue growing, continuing the process. Even after we released STAX, the team was working really hard to continue to add new features, for example, we want to be able to have phone alerts as well. Right now, you got to have Stacks open to be able to monitor. You do have voice alerts if you have it on your computer. We're eventually going to expand that so that you could set your alert on your phone so that when big money or when Stacks comes in, those will shout them out to your phone and you can go ahead and take those positions or consider those positions without having to be sitting there monitoring it. One thing that we really wanted to be able to do with our software was to be able to help out the little people. There's always that understanding that rich get richer, the poor get poorer. But our entire team understands that knowledge is the key to help us, dig yourself out of those situations to help you grow and to help you get those opportunities for the future. I've already said, you're one of a couple of our students that really took our class to heart and continued to grind away. I understand you've had your ups and downs, but noticing more recently how the profits and the posting of the profits has become a lot more consistent. We wanted to do this interview so that we can share with people ultimately this process and what we've put together does work. We're very happy to see how you've been using it and how you've been using the information that we've been able to share. As a teacher, I've always said, for example, I also coach basketball. It's one thing for me to go out there and shoot a three and hit the three. But when I see my players being able to do it on a consistent basis, just like here, it's one thing for me to go and profit off of Stacks and for me to profit off of the knowledge that I have. But being able to see my students, put that knowledge into play, that's something that that's why I'm in education. That's why I sit here as a teacher. Give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish. Very, very big difference. And I'm happy to see how you've taken that information, taken what we've taught and put it into play. I do expect that people listening in will take a look over at your Instagram page. But yeah, I really wanted to thank you for your time, taking it out of your Sunday to sit down, explain a little bit about what you've learned, explain a little bit about how you're using Stacks. I'm hoping down the line we'll have another interview of even greater aspirations and greater returns. But yeah, keep up the good work. I'm happy to see what you've been doing. Again, this is I think this is just the beginning, the baby steps
Oh yeah.
of what I believe to be 3, 5, 10-year process of
Yeah.
understanding. Good luck with school and all that. I'm sure you're close to graduation and all that, right? So,
I got one more semester.
way to find a way to balance things as well. Some people will find a 9 to 5 to work and again, nothing wrong with that, but finding these additional streams of income, especially in our day and age, I think is a sign of the willingness to grow. And you've definitely shown that. You've definitely proven that as well. So again, like very proud of you, very proud of the things that you've put together. We'll see. We can take a peek as to where your Instagram page is right now, and when we schedule another interview for further down the line, we'll see how much things have grown as well. Any other things? Anything else?
Just thank you for, being able to teach me in ICA and being really active on the Discord. A lot of the things you post don't go unnoticed and gives us even more educational value that we need in order to place the orders or keep an eye on this specific trade. Just all of the technical things that, let's say, personally, I wouldn't be able to know what's going on, but you're able to put it in layman's term for everyone. So I appreciate everything in that. And thank you for Chemo for making it possible for everybody, always being on top of his stuff, giving out good call outs, always being there for any questions, concerns, and just building this huge community that we have. It's only going up from here.
I appreciate it. Appreciate those words. And we'll see you on the Discord and, continuing to see how you continue to grow. Again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, out of your Sunday to sit down with me to share these things so that additional people can understand, what we're doing here with ICC and STAX.
Yep, sounds good. Have a great
All right.
weekend.
You too. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.